This weekend is NFL Week 4. The number one game I'm most excited for is Buffalo at Baltimore. The Bills at the Ravens. This is a massive game. Both teams are 2-1. Two incredible quarterbacks. Josh Allen against Lamar Jackson. It's going to be a fun one. Lamar Jackson is playing out of his mind right now. And I would say that this is the game of the week for sure, is Buffalo at Baltimore. And two quarterbacks both drafted in 2018. Definitely the two best quarterbacks from that draft class. And I'm excited, man, to see what happens here. It's going to be wild. They are incredibly talented and look really, really good. Now, another fun one for a different reason. Probably not as exciting. Probably not going to get as incredible level of quarterback play. But the Jets play at Pittsburgh. And the storyline here, the reason why I'm excited is it's going to be Jets quarterback Zach Wilson's first game of the year. He's returning from a minor knee injury during the preseason, and if you want something interesting to watch, go watch how Zach Wilson does during NFL Week 4. I have no idea what to expect. I'm hoping he does well, and I'm very, very excited to watch how he does on the road at Pittsburgh. Number 3, Denver at Vegas. The Broncos at the Raiders. The Raiders are 0-3, and it's bad. Like, I think they're a talented football team. I keep hoping they're going to be better, but it's very possible only 3 games into the year that the year is already over for Vegas. That you cannot start 0-4. And Denver, in contrast, somehow has struggled their way to starting 2-1. I don't know how they have 2 wins on the year. They look horrible, but it's been ugly, but they got 2 victories so far this year, and I think that this game, while the Raiders are a better football team, anything could happen. Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, a division matchup, AFC West division matchup. I'm very, very curious to see what happens between Denver and the Raiders. Number 4, the Jaguars at Philly. This is a massive game. The Jaguars are 2-1. Philly is 3-0. I think these defenses are both really good. The Jaguars defense tied for first in takeaways. Philadelphia's defense is making plays on the football. Oh my goodness. It's a fun quarterback matchup. It's Jalen Hurts against Trevor Lawrence. Remember, Doug Peterson got fired by Philadelphia and replaced by Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni's looked pretty good. Nick Sirianni, led Philadelphia to a playoff appearance in his first ever year in Philadelphia. So Doug Peterson against his former team, it's an interesting, exciting storyline. I can't wait to see what happens. Philly should be the favorite, but man, the Jaguars do have a legitimate opportunity to win this football game. All right, I got one prediction this week. So far, my predictions have been wildly unsuccessful this year. Like, I've been wrong basically every time. So please do not gamble with what I'm about to say. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, but Packers at Patriots this week feels like an easy one. The Patriots quarterback, Mac Jones, has a high ankle sprain. He's out for the game. You get conflicting reports, but it's been reported he's out. Now, I also hear, well, he's at practice and he's not talking like he's going to miss the game, but I don't think Mac Jones is going to play. I mean, Bill Belichick says Mac Jones' injury is day-to-day, but when it first happened, people said he'd be out a few weeks. Adam Schefter's reported he's not going to play in this football game. Brian Hoyer is expected to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots. He's lost 11 games in a row that he's started. Without Mac, I just can't imagine Green Bay not winning this football game. So I am going to predict Green Bay is going to beat New England. I know, crazy, amazing. But wow, no, I picked the easy ones. Feels like an easy one here, but I would have told you last week that there were easy ones that I got wrong too. So I thought for sure Kansas City was going to dominate Indy, and Indy beat Kansas City. So it's the NFL, anything could happen, but I find it hard to believe Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to lose to Brian Hoyer and the Patriots, even on the road in New England. Now, the Cowboys play Washington this weekend. I've got my eyes on Washington quarterback Carson Wentz. I have been really disappointed with him so far this year. I thought week 1 was awesome. He had 2 touchdowns. He had multiple touchdowns. Jahan Dotson had 2 touchdowns. I remember that's the key detail I'm remembering from week 1. But I thought, I guess what I've seen so far this year, I watched film of that Eagles-Commanders game last weekend. Carson has been really, really lacking detail. He's had He's been inaccurate throwing the football. He's had awful timing. He's been late. No anticipation on throws. And I get it. Carson Wentz is in a new offense. He's learning a new system. But I think this is the week where Carson's got to show up. I'm losing patience. I'm not going to wait any longer. Dallas has a really, really impressive defensive line. They are going to get after Carson Wentz and cause him problems. And I'm worried that, after getting sacked by Philadelphia 9 times during NFL Week 3 against another really good pass rush in Dallas, I think he's going to just get obliterated. And so keep your eye on Washington quarterback Carson Wentz. I'm worried for him. I think they think he's their franchise quarterback, but what we've seen through the first 3 weeks has not been encouraging at all. And keep your eye on that storyline. How about Vikings at New Orleans? Jameis Winston is hurt. He most likely is not going to play. So the Saints quarterback is going to be Andy Dalton. I don't say what I'm about to say lightly. I think it's very possible that maybe Andy Dalton is going to be an upgrade from Jameis Winston. I don't like saying that. I have been rooting for Jameis to prove himself as the franchise quarterback in New Orleans, but in the last 2 weeks, he's got 5 interceptions in the fourth quarter. Now, one of them was tipped, one was on a Hail Mary. It's still not good. And in my opinion, this Saints offense has not scored enough points to start the year. You've got Alvin Kamara, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, who's not playing this game, by the way. He's injured. An awesome offensive line, a really good defense. Like, the Tampa Bay game was out there for the taking, and Jameis didn't score enough points and didn't make it happen. So I think in a weird way, it's very possible Andy Dalton might even steal the starting job in New Orleans this weekend. I know that's blasphemous. That's unbelievable, but we'll see how Andy Dalton does. He might be terrible too. I'm really saying that the reason why Andy Dalton might become the starting quarterback in New Orleans is not because Andy Dalton is so impressive. It's because Jameis has been so disappointing. I've been waiting and waiting for him to grab this opportunity by the horns and take it, and he just hasn't. So I'm hoping maybe Andy Dalton can do better. I don't know, but really the story here is that Minnesota has a great opportunity to start 3-1. The Vikings starting 3-1 with a new coach and a reinvigorated offense would be a massive deal. And I like the Vikings here a lot, but I am praying Andy Dalton can do something good for the Saints. Cleveland at Atlanta. The Browns are 2-1. They're trying to keep their season alive until Deshaun Watson, their $235 million quarterback, comes back. A 3-1 start with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback would be massive. He's played pretty well. They had one insane loss to the Jets, but otherwise, they probably should be 3-0 right now. I like the Browns here. Them starting 3-1 would be great for their fan base, but I will say I'm rooting for Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota. I want to see him do well. I love Marcus Mariota. Big fan of him. So Browns, Falcons, rooting for Marcus Mariota, but remember, if they can start 3-1 with Jacoby Brissett, that's a massive, massive victory for Cleveland. Seattle at Detroit. Man, I want to see Detroit win this football game. I am rooting for Detroit openly. Detroit has talent. They're playing a lesser opponent. And if things really are changing in Detroit with Dan Campbell, their head coach, this is a gimme game you got to win. When you play a lesser opponent like Seattle and you're a good franchise, you win this game. You don't play down to the level of your opponent. You take care of business and win by 20 points. That's what should happen between Detroit and Seattle this weekend. You're at home. You're missing your best receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a big deal, but I have high hopes for Detroit this week. I'm like a closeted Detroit Lions fan, just wanting to see Jared Goff do well, wanting to see I think even someone commented this the other day, like even Vikings fans, even Packers and Bears fans, when their team isn't playing against Detroit, they root for the Lions because they're the little engine that could. They've been so bad for so many years that they're the new Cleveland Browns. I want to see the Browns won a playoff game, and then I don't care anymore. Like now they got this awful quarterback who's got all these off the field problems. My affinity for Cleveland is gone. I've shifted that energy to Detroit. I want to see Detroit here do something awesome. I want to see them win a game. They started 1-2. I think they're better than that record. Can we see Detroit beat Seattle this weekend like They should. Now, on the flip side, Geno Smith could play spoiler here. And you never know. I don't know what to expect from Geno Smith. Probably mediocre quarterback play, but we'll see. How about Tennessee at Indy? The Colts beat Kansas City last week. They're trying to save their season. They got to keep it going. I thought that week 3 was a shocking, frankly, an upset where Indy beat Kansas City. I did not see that coming at all. And now you got to keep it going. Your season is at risk. You're 1-1-1. You can't start 1-2-1. And so, frankly, both teams here are one-win teams. Indy and Tennessee. Both teams only have one win. It's a huge AFC South division matchup between the Titans and the Colts. And I think it's going to be kind of a bloodbath, to be totally honest. I think it's going to be physical. It's going to be a lot of running the football, a lot of play action. Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, physical defense. Keep your eye on this game. If you played like linebacker in high school and you like physical football, watch the Titans at Colts this weekend during NFL Week 4. Bears at Giants. The Giants are coming off of a horrible Monday Night Football game last week. They have a huge opportunity here to get back on track. The Giants do. Now, last week, Chicago played Houston, and it was an interesting matchup between Davis Mills and Justin Fields. I think that was a very even matchup between two teams that are not very good, but have something interesting and are trying to make progress as a franchise. I think this week is a similar game for the Bears, where you're playing a struggling Giants team that started 2-0, but probably played a little above their talent level, maybe is a good way to put it. I don't know how to say that, but these are two teams that are not very good. But I expect Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, a close, entertaining football game. Maybe not a very pretty football game. Probably some ugly plays here and there, some mistakes, maybe some turnovers. I don't know. But despite the fact that it might be kind of ugly at times, I think it's going to be interesting. And if you want a nail-biter, an interesting, tense, dramatic football game, that is what I expect between Chicago and New York this weekend. How about the LA Chargers at Houston? LA is 1-2. I don't mean to badmouth Houston here. Their quarterback Davis Mills does some good stuff. We'll see. LA cannot afford to lose to a winless Houston Texans football team this weekend. I really like the Chargers head coach Brandon Staley. I don't want to see the guy get fired. I am worried for him. You start 1-2. If you start 1-3, you lose to Houston. I don't know if the Chargers have the balls to fire their coach after 4 games, but I hope they don't. I love Brandon Staley, man. Call me a softie. I'd want to play for him in a heartbeat. I think he's a great coach. I think what's happening in LA is they got a lot of problems with injuries and all kinds of stuff, but injuries aside, LA cannot lose this game to Houston during NFL Week 4, and we'll see what happens. But if they lose this game, they're in trouble. Arizona at Carolina, another game where Arizona can't lose this football game. If Arizona wants any respect as an NFL franchise, you cannot lose to the Panthers during NFL Week 4, period, point blank. Arizona has to beat Carolina on the road at Carolina. Sunday Night Football, Kansas City at Tampa. I think Kansas City's a better team here. Florida was just hit by a hurricane. I'm not really sure how Hurricane Ian is going to impact this football game. Maybe it won't. I'm not really sure. But I'm curious. And I think there's potential for fun because it's Patrick Mahomes against Tom Brady, two legendary quarterbacks. I think anytime that happens, there's potential for a really good fun finish and an interesting matchup. So if any team wins in a blowout, I would imagine Kansas City would win, blowing out Tampa. But what I'm hoping for, really, I'm crossing my fingers, I want a good, interesting, fun game. I feel similarly about Monday Night Football. The Rams play at San Francisco on Monday Night Football. The Rams should dominate. They're a better team. I don't respect Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers quarterback, very much. However, Rams-49ers games are always close. They're always interesting. They just, it's uncanny how much, these teams know each other very well. They play each other 2, sometimes even 3 times a year, depending on if they rematch in the playoffs. It's an NFC West division game, so I hope it's going to be a good game. I think LA's a better football team, but keep your eye on Rams 49ers on Monday night. It'll be a fun primetime game, and I'm hoping for a good, tense, and hopefully nail-biting, heart-wrenching end to a football game on Monday night.